Good evening. Welcome to the February 4th, 2026 meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. This meeting is being held virtually via Zoom video conference and is also being broadcast by FCTV on cable channel 9. As this meeting is being recorded by Zoom and broadcast by FCTV, please be cognizant of what you say and how you say it and what can be seen and heard in your background. We have a full complement of commissioners tonight. Thank you all for your dedication. I'd like to remind the commissioners that for commenting, I will call on each of you in turn, so please refrain from speaking over each other. Also, all votes are done by roll call. So when I call your name, please state your name and your vote for the record, even if you've made the motion or second. To our public attendees, at any time during this meeting, you may enter any comments or questions via the chat function. At the appropriate time, they will be read into the record. If, as an attendee, you'd like to participate in a particular hearing, let us know via the chat function. At the appropriate time, you will be promoted into the hearing as a participant. When you are selected, you must have your video enabled, be succinct, and respectful of others. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes each. Regarding RDAs, under a request for determination of applicability, the applicant is asking the Commission to determine if the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act and or the Falmouth Wetlands bylaw apply to the proposed project. A negative determination is that the provisions of the Act and or bylaws do not apply. Therefore, the project may proceed as proposed. A positive determination means the provision of the Act and or bylaw do in fact apply and or may require some conditions. Therefore, the project would require a notice of intent application. So as an applicant, you want to hear a negative determination. For the benefit of anybody waiting for a particular hearing tonight, and so you'll not be waiting unnecessarily, the following hearings are expected to be continued. 0 Davisville Road, East Falmouth, 77 Santuit Road, Falmouth, Mass, 58 Westwood Road, Falmouth, Mass, 4 Whittemore Ave, Falmouth, Mass. All right. So first on the agenda, we want to vote for the minutes of January 14th, 2026.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve the minutes of Patton.
Bird, second.
A motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
Dave.
Kent, aye.
Jim.
McGrath, aye.
Ronnie.
Bowman, aye.
Courtney.
Bird, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
Duffy, aye. Minutes for January 14th, 2026 have been voted in. Next, the minutes for January 21st, 2026.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the minutes of January 21st. Patton.
Bird, second.
Motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
Dave.
Kent, aye.
Jim.
McGrath, aye.
Ronnie.
Bowman, aye.
Courtney.
Bird, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
Duffy, aye. Minutes for January 2026 are in. Next up, we have a request for a continuance under an enforcement order. Seashell Lane Community Associates, Inc., 0 Davisville Road, map parcel 40-11-013-000, East Falmouth, Mass. Unpermitted clearing, cutting, construction while the flood zone and within the buffer to a salt marsh. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this matter is being continued or being requested to continue to February 11th. We had hoped the commission might be able to see something out there. So yeah, February 11th.
So Bird, so move. Continue to the 11th.
Patton, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue to February 11th. Questions? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the roll. Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
Dave.
Kent, aye.
Jim.
McGrath, aye.
Ronnie.
Bowman, aye.
Courtney.
Bird, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
And Duffy, aye. Request for continuance granted till February 11th. Request for determination of applicability. The first one on the agenda, J. David and H. Jane Preston, 50 Weatherglass Lane, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to remove a float and enlarge the existing ramp. Alyssa.
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Driscoll
Sec-
second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions? Seeing none, I'll call the roll. Ron,
Driscoll aye.
Dave,
Kent, I.
Jim,
McGrath, aye.
Ronnie,
Bowman, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Steve,
Patton, aye.
and Duffy, aye. Motion passes. Next, we have Foley Irrevocable Trust, 15 Ovington Drive, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to install a new Title V sewage disposal system. Alyssa.
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed, and this project solely takes place in an AE flood zone.
Bird, so move.
Driscoll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the roll. Ron,
Driscoll aye.
Dave,
Kent, I.
Jim,
McGrath, aye.
Ronnie,
Bowman, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Steve,
Patton, aye.
and Duffy, aye. Motion passes. Next, Carol Legger, 247 Lakeshore Drive, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to extend an existing deck. Alyssa.
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Patton, second.
Driscoll second.
And a motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing and seeing none, I will call the roll. Ron,
Driscoll aye.
Dave,
Kent, I.
Jim,
McGrath, aye.
Ronnie,
Bowman, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Steve,
Patton, aye.
and Duffy, aye. Motion passes. Next, we have Scott Maciel, 298 Acapesket Road, Falmouth, Mass. Did I just say that one? No. For permission to install a new Title V sewage disposal system.
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Driscoll second.
Hearing a motion and a second. Any questions? Seeing none, I'll call the roll. Ron,
Driscoll aye.
Dave,
Kent, I.
Jim,
McGrath, aye.
Ronnie,
Bowman, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Steve,
Patton, aye.
and Duffy, aye. Motion passes. Next, we have Keith Debecourt, 77 Santuit Road, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to install new Title V sewage disposal system.
The applicant has requested
Oh, sorry.
continuance until March 4th. Sorry, I didn't hear you, so I just started. The applicant has requested a significant
A continuance
delay
till,
freeze.
yes, till March 4th.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Bird, so move.
Driscoll second.
We have a motion and a second to continue this RDA till March 4th. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, I'll call the roll. Ron,
Driscoll aye.
Dave,
Kent, I.
Jim,
McGrath, aye.
Ronnie,
Bowman, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Steve,
Patton, aye.
and Duffy, aye. Motion passes. Lynn Riley, 100 Gale Avenue, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to install an in-ground pool with an associated patio and fence, conduct minor regrading, and for after-the-fact permission to construct a shed. Alyssa.
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Is this in a flood zone?
It is in a
Driscoll
flood
second.
zone. This
Oh.
particular project, when it was constructed, it was an undeveloped lot, so the zone A is fully vegetated. So there's no mitigation or anything required.
Okay. Bird, so move.
Driscoll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the roll. Ron,
Driscoll aye.
Dave,
Kent, I.
Jim,
McGrath, aye.
Ronnie,
Bowman, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
and Steve,
Patton, aye.
And Duffy, aye. Motion passes. Next, we have Sean Anderson, 252 Minot Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to raise and rebuild an existing single-family dwelling, reconfigure a driveway, and install a new Title V sewage disposal system. Alyssa.
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed, and this project solely takes place in an AE flood zone.
Bird, so move.
Driscoll second.
A motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the roll. Ron,
Driscoll eye.
Dave,
Kent, aye.
Jim,
McGrath, aye.
Ronnie,
Bowman, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Steve,
Patton, aye.
and Duffy, aye. Motion passes. Next, we have a continued request for determination of applicability. Scott Maciel, 75 Reynolds Street, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to construct an addition and porch and to reconstruct the deck. Alyssa.
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Is this a flood zone thing?
It's not. Most of the reconstruction is in the same footprint. There's very minor mitigation required.
Okay. Bird, so move.
Driscoll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing and seeing none, I will call the roll. Ron,
Driscoll eye.
Dave,
Kent, aye.
Jim,
McGrath, aye.
Ronnie,
Bowman, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Steve,
Patton, aye.
and Duffy, aye. Motion passes. All right. For notices of intent, all hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetland Bylaws. Although a single decision of the commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. As a reminder, public commenting is limited to 3 minutes, so I encourage you to stay within the purview of this board, which are the rules and regulations of the Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaws and how they pertain to a particular application. The chair reserves the right to stop any commenting that is disparaging or inconsequential to the hearing. Please know that all correspondence received by the Conservation Department is forwarded to all commissioners and become part of the record. We will not read each and every letter we receive at a hearing. Remember, our jurisdiction is that of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw, not zoning, health, or building. So we have a notice intent. TS Grove, PT Marinas, HM LLC, 366 Minot Road and 470 Acapesket Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to conduct improved dredging. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have promoted Raul Lizardi up from Cape and Islands Engineering to present his project. Good evening, Raul.
Good evening, everyone. Raul Lizardi for the record from Cape and Islands Engineering. We are the engineers and land surveyors for this project and this application. With your permission, I would like to share my screen.
Go ahead.
So hopefully I am successful in sharing. So this notice of intent was filed for improvement dredging. There is an existing marina at the site, and there is shallow water at the, for the past few years, there's been shallow water within the marina. So just to orientate everyone, this is down in the peninsula between Green Pond and Great Pond, right on the west side of the Minot Bridge. The property has been developed as a marina for several decades. This view that I'm showing right now is an aerial from 1971, where the marina mainly consisted of one straight through float with several finger floats and a series of moorings throughout the water. Then later, I think I skipped one of the, I believe I skipped one of the images, but the marina eventually expanded to the configuration that is there today, which has the original line of floats and then an additional L shape that was added sometime in the 1980s. And that constitutes the current marina. What has happened on the site is that currently there's a lot of accumulation of sediments within this area. From this point in this direction is where the Minot Bridge exists. So there's been a lot of accumulation of sediments in this little corner, this triangle piece. And then at low tide, the boats within this section of the marina are bottoming out and causing problems. The site has been under new ownership since the end of 2024. The current owners have not done any changes to this marina. What we're looking to do is to get permission to dredge the site. This section of the marina, we're calling to be dredged down to elevation -4, measured from mean high water. And then this section, we are proposing to dredge to -3. So there will be a transition point somewhere in the middle between elevation 3 and elevation 4. The intent is to get adequate water depths to use the marina properly and not cause too much problem, both for the boaters, the marina, but also for the environment. Right now, during low water levels, if anybody tries to boat out of here, there's a lot of suspension of sediments, and it's detrimental for the environment and the system, the shoreline system at this location. In average, if we go to this cross section that we have at this on the plan, the cross section was kind of an exaggerated vertical scale. So the vertical scale is really 10 times of the design, but it averages roughly 1.5 feet of dredging within this footprint. So it's not a massive dredge project that we're doing, but it does cover quite an extensive area. It is 35,200 plus square feet. The total volume of dredge material is roughly 1,900 cubic yards. The intent is to dredge the material, dewater on site, and if I zoom back to my plan, there is an existing boat ramp at this location. What we propose to do is on the upper side of that boat ramp, install a dewatering basin. The material gets dropped into that dewater basin. Once dewatering has happened, trucks will be delivering that material off to an off-site destination for disposal. We believe the final disposal is going to be the Bourne transfer station. And once all of the dredging is done, all the temporary sediment controls will be removed. The temporary dewatering basin will be removed. For protection during construction, what we propose is a silt curtain that completely encompasses the erosion area. I mean, the dredge area. We did receive comments from DMF. We received comments from Natural Heritage. The site is partially from this point towards the pond is within estimated habitat. Natural Heritage determination says that this project does not constitute a prohibited take of habitat. DMF letter does recommend a time of year restriction, which is typical for these dredge projects. We also received comments from the harbor master stating that this project does not result in impediments to navigation or hazards to navigation. We did receive also comments from the town's shellfish constable. There are some recommendations for mitigation, and in the application, we described one of the mitigations that we're proposing is to donate some of the seeds of shellfish for the propagation of shellfish animals in the areas that the shellfish constable seems appropriate. The shellfish constable also recommends some supervision by the shellfish constable for the relocating of any animals that are encountered during the process. And the relocation is going to be based on directions from the harbor, the Shellfish Constable, not at the expense cost of the town. It will be at the expense of the applicant. We did receive comments from staff on this project and this application. We didn't get a chance to actually submit any response in detail for this, but I do want to take a couple of minutes to talk about some of the comments. The main comment regarding the proposed dredge was related to the section 5.3 of the bylaws. I'm sorry, of section 10.25(5) of the regulations in the town of Falmouth, and that was briefly talked about in our narrative under section 5.3. This all has to do with performance standards for land under the ocean. So all of the work is happening in land under the ocean for dredging, and there are 4 subsections within the Falmouth regulation specific for activities in land under the ocean. Section A talks about the project does not create additional erosion or flooding. And this project, what we're proposing to do is roughly an average of 1.5 feet of dredging within this 35,000 square foot area. That is not a significant volume compared to the massive body of water that is Green Pond that will enlarge or increase flooding problems within the shoreline or within the property. It's also worth mentioning this marina is directly north of the bridge approachment to the Minot Bridge. So it's pretty well protected from the main sound impact, or the waters coming from the sound crossing the bridge. So we don't believe that this project is going to cause increases in flooding or erosion within the shoreline. Section B, or subsection B, talks about sediment transports. Again, this is a site that is currently accumulating sediments. When Green Pond is discharging flow into the sound, the flow is going in a southward direction. Because the flow has to go through the opening of the bridge, the flow kind of flows that way. So this side is really not changing that pattern. This side, in effect, what's been happening over the years is accumulating sediments at the bottom of the marina. So we don't believe this is a project that's going to change the transport of sediments that is feeding some downstream beaches or coastal shorelines. Subsection C has to do with water circulation. Again, most of the circulation of water for Green Pond at this location is restricted by the bridge opening. This project is not going to affect the existing circulation of water or the temperature of the water within the vicinity of this site. Subsection D has to do with marine productivity and protection of marine environments. For the duration of the dredge project, we do propose this silk curtain completely encompassing the dredge area. So that's going to protect siltation from exiting the dredge areas. Once the project is completed and sediments have settled to the bottom of the pond, then the silt sediments will be removed. There is a time of year restriction that this has to be in place. We are allowed to do the work during the time of year restriction, so long as the sediment, the silk curtain is in place. So this project does aim at protecting the shellfish and the wildlife within Green Pond. One of the things that we're proposing to do is that any animals that are recovered during the dredge process, they're going to be replanted elsewhere in the direction of, as directed by the Shellfish Constable. A couple other comments that were brought up by staff report, they're not really relate to this project. It relates to past conditions on the property or past permits for the site. It took me a while to dig back into permits and the sorts. So one of the comments staff had is that the terminal float seemed to be bigger than past permits. What I found is that in 2007 through 2009, there was a modification to the float marina. There was communications back and forth with conservation. There was also communications with waterways and Chapter 91. That 2009 modifications were approved. I'm not specific on what the modification included, but I know that there were some approved modifications to the floating marina back in 2009. There was additional modifications in 2019. That one did talk about some size of the floats. Overall, the comparison was saying that the 4,400 square feet of float surface area that was originally proposed was still being maintained, although it was being reconfigured within a reconfiguration zone. Again, I'm not too sure on the details of that reconfiguration, but I do know that there's been some past permits that reconfigure the float. The question that staff had was something to do about 3 feet or something like that on the size of the floats. There was another comment regarding mitigation plantings from past permits. There was a specific permit that was referenced in the not really referenced in the comments from staff, but the comments from staff included some past drawings or approved plans that were related to a specific permit. And I went back to that permit. That permit approved mitigation in this area. And based on the information that I found in 2008 or 2007, a compliance was issued for that permit, and all the plans were proposed at this location, dating back to a plan, I believe, from 2002. There was an older plan from 2000 that showed additional plantings at this location, but that was not the plan that was referenced in the order or the compliance. The only plans that were called out were in this location. But nevertheless, if there's plantings required for mitigation in these locations, those plantings should be there, and if not, they can be restored. So that's the project we have before you, and I will stop sharing for now, and I'll take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Raul. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Raul. Can you put your comments regarding 10.25 in writing, Raul? I know you had mentioned it was in the notice, but it was all 5 were discussed in half a sentence. So if you could just expand on that, that would be great. I do agree with your analysis there. I need it for the record, and I need a little something more substantial than what was submitted. So that would be great. We'll condition the replanting of that bank. It does need to be done. Alyssa, when you were talking about the terminal floats, I thought you were talking about the interior ones, not the ones Raul was mentioning.
Nope, it
Can
was
you
those
clarify?
ones.
Oh,
It was those
those
ones, yeah. Per the plan of reference in the license, that's what I found. I do know there were, I think you referenced notifications, Raul. I don't know if that was at the Chapter 91 level. I couldn't find anything at the local level, but we could be missing it. So if you could send that over, that would be helpful. Maybe we can all put the pieces together.
And then, Raul, I do have a couple of questions on your dewatering now. I've been thinking of it. The dewatering area is not very large, and you're watering 1,900 cubic yards. How long is that going to take you?
Honestly, I have not calculated duration of how long that's going to take, but looking at the plan, if I go back to the plan, we do call out an area of 80 feet long by 18 foot wide for this dewatering.
The ramp.
The ramp, right?
Yeah.
So it will take a while. I don't know if this is a 2-week process to actually dewater the material that we're digging out using this dewatering basin, but we don't have much room elsewhere.
No.
This is going to be something that's going to happen during the off season, and as everybody know, during the off season, the parking lot is being used for boat storage. So we only have that limited area for dewatering. So most of the water, some of the dewatering happens on the barge as it's being transported over to the dewatering basin, and then the final dewatering happens at the basin. So the duration is going to depend on how much material gets transported off, so that it clears up the dewatering basin, so that another pile can be deposited there, and then dewater and so on. So I don't have a specific duration.
Okay. And we got 1,900 cubic yards being trucked out of there. Ronnie Bowman, the size of a normal dump truck. They're
They're gonna
20
use-
cubic yards, 30 cubic
They're gonna
yards.
probably have triaxles, I would think probably 22 tons.
So how many cubic yards is that?
20 cubic yards. I'd have to do the math on it, but they're gonna be 10-wheelers. They're not gonna be having a small truck in there. There'll definitely be triaxles going in and out of there.
It was noted in the narrative that 30 to 50 trips are estimated.
That seems a little low when I was calculating out my estimate between 20 and. Okay. It might be a little bit more than that, but okay. I'm just curious. And one other question. Thank you, Ronnie. I didn't mean to put you on the spot there, Ronnie.
No.
One other question, Raul. How are you getting the dredge over there? How are you getting it under or over that bridge?
So the dredge material doesn't get under the bridge.
No. The dredge itself.
Bridge.
The actual
barge.
dredge. The
It's a
barge.
it'll
You
be
mean
a
the barge? So the site currently has a boat ramp. The boat ramp during high water levels has some water. I know that during low tide it's mud, so we can't really use it. The floats can be detached and move it around. So there is some mobility that is possible, but we did reach out to a marine contractor. Their barge can access the site. I don't know if the barge accesses the site underneath the bridge comfortably, but any crane or any material or any equipment that is probably on the barge will probably, if not possible to get it under the bridge, can access the barge from within the site using the existing boat ramp.
Okay, so we'll have to do a pre-construction just to see how they're getting this barge and all the equipment on that side of the bridge. They just was it a year or two ago? We had to do inside Great Harbor, and something went under the bridge, and then they lifted something over the bridge. So, I mean, it can be done. We can get it in there. It's just going to be what they have to do to get the equipment north of that bridge. Okay.
Yeah, so there's a on-site concrete boat ramp, and
Yeah,
that was something
yeah.
that was extended back in 2012, I believe.
Yep,
So
something
there is something.
Okay. I think that's all I have, Raul. We will probably condition the replanting and then send us what you have on the floats, and we'll double check that, and we'll have to condition whether or not those need to be adjusted, or just send us what you have on that. Okay?
I will, and I did reach out to the new owners, and they have not done any changes to the floats. So if something has changed, it's
Oh, it
something
was done
that
before. Yeah.
okay.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Alyssa, do you have anything to add?
And not at this time. Thank you.
All right, I'll take questions from commissioners. Jim?
My only question is, what happens to the floats during the dredging?
So yes, the floats can be detached. So as the barge gets moved around to dredge certain areas, the floats will be shifted around and tied to the other floats so that the barge can move around and do the work. And as it moves along, then the floats get moved back and repositioned. So yeah, they will have to be moved around because the dredging cannot happen with the marina as it sits.
Okay, so they're not being removed for the dredging. Okay, thank you.
Dave?
Yeah, Raul, when are you planning to do this? And tell me about you mentioned a time of year restriction. Maybe you could expand on that a bit.
So right, there is still more permitting that will take place right after any local permitting is completed. This requires a new water quality with waterways at DEP. It also requires a new Chapter 91 license, again with DEP waterways. So there is a lengthy permitting process that this project will likely not even start probably till next winter season, if anything, December. The time of year restriction, it is in the letter from DMF, and if I quickly jump to that letter, I know that Conservation received a copy. And the time of year restriction they place is January 15 to May 31st, which is typical. It is for the flounders. And what they say, if we have the siltation curtain in place, then we're allowed to do some of this work. But then the silt curtain has to remain in place until after May 31st. If all the work happens before January 15, then yes, everything can take place outside of the time of year restriction.
As far as how deep you're going, are you aiming to get back to a previous depth from previous years at some point in the past, or what's guiding how deep you're going?
So right, the furthest license that we found that had information about water depths was from 1968, and it called out that the shore, or the closest section to the shore, was water depths of 2.4 feet below low water. Right now, that section is 1.0, roughly, in average. We don't have a lot of details of what the soundings were further out into the pier to compare with what's there today. What we know is that along the shoreline, it was closer to 2.4, and now is roughly 1 foot. We know that the preference from the Falmouth regulation is for marinas to have 4 feet of water depth. We're proposing to get to the 4 feet for the outer half of the marina, and then transition from 4 feet to 3 feet in the inner half. So even though we're not going to the recommended 4 feet by the Falmouth regulation, we are doing an improvement and getting closer to what was at least there in 1968. We believe if it was 2.4 along the shore or closest to the shore, it was much deeper further out. So I think it was closer to 4 back in the 1960s.
When you mentioned recovering animals, I guess that means shellfish. How, is that done after you pour the sediment into that basin? Do you somehow save the shellfish at that point, or what do you do?
Typically, what the contractors do under the direction of the Shellfish Constable is that once they set the perimeter with the silt curtain, they rake the bottom, just as if they were shellfishing.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And any animals that they're capturing,
okay.
they move them out. The thing in this location, it is very muddy. So the shellfish animals don't really like to go into muddy areas. They like the sandy areas.
Gotcha.
But yeah, that's usually what they do. They break them and they relocate anything they find.
So just one last question. This may be for Jen. So that mitigation, that L-shaped area is required. Is it? We think.
What do you mean is required for what?
Are we going to require some mitigation?
For the L-shaped area? They are proposing to make, and this is routine when there's shellfish involved in certain things, to purchase seed for the town as mitigation for disturbance of shellfish. So what they'll do is they will
If I can interject, I think, Kent, you're talking about the plantings.
On
So-
land, yes, plantings.
Okay, I'm
So yeah,
sorry.
there was some plantings from past orders of conditions from, I think, the year 2002. And it was some shrubs that were required to be planted on the upland side. And that's where Jen said that those plantings, because of those past orders, have to be there. There's no question about it. That's
So it will be
that's
so.
a project that, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for all the information.
Courtney,
First question is, do you know what the sediment source is that's filling in that marina? In other words, are you getting sediment coming under the bridge and then getting an eddy effect that deposits the silt at that in that area?
So the environment and the dynamics when there's a bridge, like Courtney is kind of referring to, the choking point of the bridge causes the velocity of the flow both going in and out to accelerate. And yes, there is when the flow is coming in by either a big, quick surge of high tides, there could be an eddy effect and sediments could be deposited. We have not been monitoring the conditions to see what is really causing it. The amount that's being deposited, I have a feeling is more of sediments that are being transported when the pond is really flushing out. I
Okay.
think that is mostly what is happening. The sediment is mostly muddy, at least on the surface, which indicates of fine particles that have enough time of slow moving or stagnant water for them to actually settle to the bottom. If
Yeah.
it's for coarser particles, you know, they get to move freely. If it's fine particles, they need the water to kind of be more still to actually
Yeah.
get to the bottom.
Yeah. You also, I think, because of a previous question, addressed my logical question is, if you're gonna go to the trouble of dredging this, why aren't you going to 4 feet all the way in? But I think you've answered that question.
But Courtney, if you want, I can go a little further. One of the things we want to do is avoid getting too close to the riprap, protecting
Yeah.
the bridge. So we're keeping away from that. We're also wanting to not undermine the
Yeah.
shoreline, which is a salt marsh, and the boat ramp. The boat ramp could still provide some benefits for the facility, and we do not want to get too close to that with 4-foot water depths.
Understood. You've answered all my questions. It's a good project. Thank you.
Ronnie,
Thank you, Raul. Well presented. Most of my questions were answered by my fellow commissioners. Do we know when the last time this area was dredged?
Hasn't been.
Yeah,
And
so
that
it
was
has
it.
not. It has not. Ever since I've been working and knowing of this project in 2001, there has not been a dredge on the site. There was an attempt about 5-6 years ago, but it didn't go anywhere. It didn't even go to the process of permitting. But the accumulation of sediments has been known, has been happening, but
Yep.
no dredge permit, no license that calls out any dredging has been found.
Okay, so it's long overdue. That's all I got. Thank you.
Alyssa, you had your hand raised?
Yeah, just a point of clarification for the newer commissioners who might not have seen dredging projects yet. There are 2 types of dredging listed under your regulations called maintenance dredging or improvement dredging. Maintenance is a request to continue previously permitted dredging in a previously permitted area and to a certain depth. Improvement dredging is a request to dredge in a brand new location or to perhaps take an old dredge footprint and either dredge deeper or slightly expand it. So in turn, by this being improvement, nothing's ever been done before.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Alyssa. Steve,
Yeah, I think everything's been covered. Thank you. Good, nice presentation.
Ron,
Yeah, Steve, you think everyone's been covered, but a couple simple questions, Raul. The filtered water is going back into Green Pond, correct?
I'm sorry, the what water?
The filtered water, when you dewater in the sludge, you're essentially filtering it. Water's going back into the pond, right
So
down
that's-
right down the ramp.
That's correct. And that's the reason why we have the sewer current for any suspended sediments to be controlled.
Yeah. And second, once the barge is inside the silt curtain, it stays in there, right?
That is correct.
All right, so this curtain the curtain stays in place all the time.
Yeah.
And third, just in general, if this is the easiest way to take care of shellfish issues, let them let the people to rake them up and put new seeds in. We don't have to worry about testing and who did what when. Just a comment. Thank you. That's all.
Thanks, Ron. Every question I had has been answered. Jen?
One quick question. Raul, you kind of made a statement that if you have your if you have that turbidity curtain in place, you can dredge within the time of year restriction. That is not what DMF letter says. So I think you need clarification from DMF. I have seen it written that if the turbidity curtain is in place, then in-water activities can occur, but that's not what it says in DMF's letter. So I was going to say close this, but I think it's important for your client to determine whether or not they're going to be able to dredge in that window. So I think you need, if you are assuming that once the turbidity curtain is in place, you can dredge. I'm not seeing that. And I have seen past letters from DMF that is specifically stated if the curtain's in place, you can do in-water activity. So I think it's important for your client, if that's what you were saying and implying, I think it's important for your client to reach back out to DMF and determine if that is the case. And then we can write the order of conditions up like that. Do you understand what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying, Raul?
Yeah, I do, and I do stand corrected. I'm reading the letter now carefully, and you're correct. The letter does say no in-water silt producing activity, including dredging or placing a turbidity curtain, should take place between January 15 and May 31st. So we can agree that you can adopt this as a condition right now, and should the contractor require to go into that site, we can reach back to DMF, involve conservation again to see if we can modify that specific condition.
Okay, and what about the floats on the end, Raul? I've just pulled up the order of conditions for that. It did say 6 by 38, not 6 by 41, and that was at 2000 and that later 2000, the one that Alyssa cited, that 2005 order of conditions went to 38, not 41. You're saying you have additional information beyond that
Right.
allowed it to go from 31 to 38 to 41?
Right. I don't know that the modifications were specific about that float. I do know that there were modifications to the float in 2009 and another one in 2019. And that I will forward that information along. I don't know the specifics of what was being modified.
Okay, so can you get that information like by the end of the week?
I have it. I'll send it along.
Okay, so let me look at something real quick, Raul. Why don't we continue it till next week, send that along so we at least can come to some agreement, staff and Cape and Islands, of what size floats that's going to be. And then maybe you can reach out to DMF and they can get some clarification by that time for you. So you don't have to come back and amend or whatever.
But
It's only 1 week.
yeah, but the float is not part of this application. I know it.
Yeah, but if the float is in violation of the orders of conditions, then we need to know.
So we're asking a continued. I mean, if I provide that information, and even the information that I provide doesn't really clarify what was being modified, what do we do next week?
Close it, and then we'll condition that the terminal floats have to go back to their previously permitted size. That's all.
All right.
If you want to close it tonight, Raul, we'll close it and we'll just say that it has to go back to the previously permitted size. It doesn't matter to me. I'm just giving you like a chance for us to just talk it out since we haven't had a chance. That's all.
I mean, if I provide the information at any time, regardless of the condition of this current permit, if it's going to be a condition on this project, it may be an issue with the applicant. The applicant may not have intended to do any changes to the float, and I don't know that in 2019 the floats were changed, and that was the modification. But it's just sending the applicant to review additional permits that he was not involved with, and kind of tied in this project a little further than needed.
Well, Raul, we do it all the time where we clean up past issues with new notices and everything. We can do this two ways. We can issue an order of conditions for this project and not allow those terminal floats to go back in until, or be reattached because you're going to be moving them around to dredge. We're asking for 1 week. If that's going to be a problem, fine, close the hearing. We'll condition it accordingly.
I guess, could the board do a straw vote to see?
No.
All right, I'll ask for a continuance to 1 week to come
I'm
back
just
before
asking
you.
for 1 week, Raul.
I'll submit the information. I don't know what the information really is gonna solve with the size of the floats. It's just the information I was coming through. There is 4,400 square feet of float permitted, and there's a reconfiguration zone, and the floats move around. So that's what I'll be able to submit. And I mean, a 3 foot change, I don't know what that is.
I know, Raul. We just need to get it clarified. You know how thorough we are. And I know what you're saying. You're trying to you're invoking what we did down at what's it called? Down the road. Bosun's. You've gotten your footprint and you're moving things around in your footprint. I get that, but that's not what you asked for here. So we're just asking for clarification so we can write you an order of conditions, and maybe we do that. Maybe if we can't do it, we say these floats are this size, it's within the dredge footprint, it's within the footprint of the marina, and we approve it. But we do need to approve it, and we have to have a mechanism to do that. So all I'm asking for is 1 week to allow us to figure that out. If you force my hand, then we'll have to, let's figure this out. That's all we're asking for, Raul.
Nope, I can be here again next week. I can provide all that information tomorrow.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Raul.
I appreciate it, Raul.
Porter, you had a question real quick?
Well, my comment was, Raul, you think you have enough time in a week? Or would it be better to go out 2 weeks? I mean, you got a good project here, but you got some loose ends that need to be cleaned up.
So the information that I'm being asked for is to submit what has been already received in the past. So I already went through those documents. I just didn't have time to formally submit it to the town.
What about my question? Really, you got a DMF thing about when you can dredge and when you can't. Does that matter to you?
So right, my recommendation for that is that we adopt the condition for that time of year restriction, and if once the contractor defines a construction time period and that time of year restriction is in conflict, we can reach back to DMF, confirm with DMF if we can work with the time of year restriction. If DMS agrees with that, then we come back to conservation to modify that specific condition. But we also have about 6 to 9 months of state permitting, and we just don't want to lose that ability to get a license.
Okay, I mean, as long as you're happy with a week, we're happy with a week.
I can do it in a week, yes.
All right. So I will take a motion.
Make a move to continue this hearing for 1 week at the request of the applicant. Driscoll.
Bowman second.
All right. I hear motion second. Questions? Jen, anything in the chat?
Nothing in the public chat, and thank you, Raul.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll call it Jim,
McGrath, aye.
Dave,
Can't I?
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Ronnie,
Bowman, aye.
Steve,
Pat and I.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
and Duffy. Aye. Motion is granted to continue this for 1 week. Thank you, Raul.
Thanks.
Next on the agenda, we have Donna Haber-Kornberg, trustee, 70 Cary Lane, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to remove a fieldstone wall, to remove fill, to install native plantings, and to permit the after-the-fact location of a pool deck, ramp, and masonry wall. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Raul is still with us. From
Yay.
Cape and Islands, I am promoting Jeff Nickerson. And Raul, am I promoting Brian as well?
Please.
Okay. And Jeff Nickerson is the attorney representing the applicant, correct, Jeff?
Correct, but I think Brian's
Okay, and then I'm promoting attorney Brian Wall as well. Anybody else, Raul? I don't see anybody else affiliated with the project. Oh, I do. Am I promoting Paul Moskowski up, Raul, or yes or no?
You can promote him. I think most of the discussion is between Brian Wall and myself.
Oh, okay. Let's just promote Paul and we'll have a big party. How about that?
he's here just to answer
Oh,
questions.
no,
I
he
think,
declined to be promoted. I think Paul just wants to be in the
Okay.
background. Paul, if you do at any point would like to be promoted, just please use the raise hand function and I will promote you to address the board. I'm all set, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thanks. Let's get started. Is it you, Brian? Or you all?
Actually, if it's okay with you, Mr. Chairman, Raul and I discussed this ahead of time, and he would like to go first.
Excellent.
Thank you. For the record, Raul Lizardi from Cape and Islands Engineering, representing the applicant. We're the engineers and land surveyors for this project. And again, like mentioned, we have a couple attorneys also representing the applicant and the contractor for this project and for this application. With your permission, I would like to share my screen again.
You have it.
So this notice of intent is actually an after the fact notice of intent filing for as-built conditions of a project. So for a little bit of history, the project located at 70 Cary Lane received the order of conditions from 2022 for the construction of a pool deck, and retaining walls, and associated landscaping and mitigation. The project is located in Quisset. This is the USGS map of the site. The property abuts Flax Pond. There's a couple of Flax Ponds in Falmouth, so this is the little Flax Pond in Woods Hole. This is the application drawings that were filed with this application. This same plan was submitted last year, probably now 2 years ago, or a little more than a year ago, with the attempt of amending the active order of condition that permitted the original project. What we're doing with this notice of intent filing is to present the project again to this commission and present it that it is a project that could be approved under the regulation and still protect the wetland resources and also protect the buffer zone A. The wetlands, like I mentioned, there is Flax Pond, which is this little pond at the back. Portion of the pond is part of the property. There's an inland bank associated with Flax Pond. There's a little bordering fringe of BVW. And then there's a buffer zone A and a buffer zone B associated to these resources. The most restrictive buffer zone A is the 75-foot setback from the inland bank. Then there's a buffer zone B that is associated with the combination of the inland bank and BVW, which is 100 feet away from those resources. The whole project was permitted in, if I go to this other drawing, for some reason my drawing now is just not zooming up to the level that I want it. So the original order condition approved this pink line that I just kind of color in blue. And what was as built in 2023, 2024, was this deck. A couple of things were different from the approved drawings to what is as built and what exists on the site today. There's a 5-foot bump out of the deck, and underneath this deck, there is a masonry retaining wall that is a little different by 5 feet location-wise from what was approved. There is also an accessible ADA ramp system at this location, also within this location. However, this location falls within the previously existing deck. This location of the ramp is an additional bump out that was not shown in past permit drawings. The whole project was approved and designed originally so that we did not disturb the A zone, which is at this location. We had a limit of work that was even further inland from that A zone, and we had a 10-foot original setback. The existing condition is that the deck at the closest point is roughly 5.9 feet from buffer zone A. The regulations contain some wording about a no structure zone from buffer zone A's when the buffer zone A is completely vegetated. This buffer zone A is completely vegetated. Although there are some invasive species, the site has a fully vegetated buffer zone A. And the only activity that was approved and still kind of underway is the invasive removal, which is this label here, within some of the pockets in the vegetated buffer zone A that contain porcelain shrubs and honeysuckle, and there was some English ivy growing on the bank. So all that is part of the removal for invasive and restoration with native plants. Some of those plants have been already removed from the site and replaced. There is some English ivy that is still persistent along this fringe and is still proposed for the removal and restoration with native plants. In addition to some of the items that were constructed not per permit is this stone retaining wall right at the area where we had the limit of work. That is right at the edge and slightly inside the limit of work and slightly inside the zone A by roughly 1 foot at this location. So this application, what is asking this commission to do is to approve the as-built conditions, because we believe that the as-built conditions with a separation of roughly 6 feet, 5.9 feet at the closest point to buffer zone A is still adequate for any potential maintenance that we need for this deck and for the walls. And it also provides enough protection for buffer zone A. This 5 foot is plenty enough for any maintenance that will be required in the distant future. The retaining wall, the masonry retaining wall, would not need any work in probably the next 30 or so years. And unlike some other structures that require routine maintenance, this is a deck that is open to the air. So any access through this deck would actually provide access through the back of the property without actually needing to go and interfere with the buffer zone A. The project, what it's asking this board is to approve the as-built location of this masonry wall, of this deck, approve the removal of this fieldstone retaining wall, and restoring this area, this 5 foot to 6 foot area between buffer zone A and the masonry wall. We also are asking for the accessible ADA ramp to remain. It is more than 10 feet away from the buffer zone A. In fact, this is the closest point on this corner of the existing retaining wall, masonry wall, to the buffer zone A, which is 9.4 feet. The access ramp is in excess of 10 feet. So what we present to this commission is that trying to remove and reconstruct this pool, the retaining wall, and all the landscape that already took place is more activity that is prone to have more adverse effect to the resources or the buffer zone A than allowing this as built conditions to remain with the little modifications on removing this fieldstone wall and planting this area. Originally, the application was proposing to plant 50 square feet of native species within the buffer zone B, somewhere in this area. What we propose to do with this project is augment that mitigation to 318 square feet, which will be mitigations all throughout this area right here. And we believe that with that additional mitigation, with no additional heavy construction equipment on the site, the wetland resources are better protected. They're definitely not being any, there's not any adverse effects to the wetland resources of buffer zone A with this design or with the original design that would have been 5 feet further back. So we believe that this project could be approved under this new notice of intent with adequate additional plantings and removal of that fieldstone. The removal of the fieldstone wall is the only item that we're really proposing to do that kind of fringes on the buffer zone A. To just run through some numbers, the distance from the existing retaining wall to the BVW is currently 75 feet. The original design was 81 feet. So there's just a 5.96 feet difference in that setback. The block wall and the deck from the inland bank was proposed at 82 feet, is located 87 feet. So that's the 5 foot shift that we have here at this location. And then the proposed additional mitigation from 50 to 318 feet will further improve the natural setting at the site. In addition to the continued mitigation by removal of the English ivy that is still persistent, something we don't want to do is rip all of the vegetation invasive that is there and kind of cause a destabilization of the site. The site was found to be stable. There was no erosion when we did the as-built. There's no erosion right now at the site. The site did remove some former stone walls that were located on the site. And if I can just probably pan over to a couple of images. This is an image of what the site looked on the back of the property before any construction. You can see that there were some fieldstone walls at the site already in place. Those fieldstone walls were removed. There was a stone patio with some landscape, hardscape features. Those were removed. This is another view of the site before construction. There were fieldstone walls at the site. Again, the same idea. There were fieldstone walls. Even down the bank, there were some placement of stones down the top side of the slope towards the pond. All of that got disturbed when the pool was constructed. These are some photographs of the construction of the pool. The pool is at this location. The masonry walls at this location. This conduit system is the one that goes and feeds and purifies the water for the pool. This is the area that used to have a stone patio and used to have a couple of the fieldstone walls that were removed. This is another view in the different direction of the same activity during construction. And this is what exists on the site today. This is a portion of the ADA ramp that was constructed. All of this is more than 10 feet away from the buffer zone A. This right here is what corresponds to about the 5-foot extension of the deck. And this that we see below is the masonry retaining wall. This right here is the additional fieldstone wall that was constructed. We propose for this fieldstone wall to be removed. The fill between that wall and the masonry wall will be removed, and this area will be restored with native plantings. In this picture, you can see some of the English ivy that is still persistent on the site, even crawling up some of the trees on site. So that's the project. We believe this is a better project than trying to completely demolish the site and reconstruct this pool and pool retaining wall. The area between this wall and the pool wall is actually structural fill. So we cannot remove this wall and keep the pool at the same time because that structural fill is essential for the stability of that pool. With that, I will stop sharing and I'll pass it over to Attorney Wall to provide his comments.
Thank you, Raul. And with the chair's permission, I'd like to say a few words as well. So first of all, for the record, my name is Brian Wall. I'm an attorney and I have an office in Sandwich. And tonight I'm representing both the applicant, Donna Haber-Kornberg, who is the owner of the property, and Jeff Nickerson is here tonight too. He would like to say a few words on her behalf as well. And I also represent the contractor who installed the masonry wall and did all the work that Raul just went through. What I'd like to say is I would suggest to you that Raul has made a case in his notice of intent narrative and with his presentation that the proposed project provides an undisturbed Zone A buffer once that fieldstone wall is removed, and with an adjacent no structure zone of approximately 6 feet, and therefore the project meets all of your performance standards. There's no request for waivers or variances here. This project meets your performance standards. And I would suggest that that is sufficient to approve the project. But I would like to provide some additional argument, both factually and legally, why this project should be approved. The factual reasons that I'd like to give come straight out of the narrative. Raul mentioned some of these, but I suggest that the following bear repeating and emphasizing. And there are 4 bullet points I want to read from my notes. The first is from page 4 of the narrative, and I quote or closely paraphrase to make it go quicker what Raul said. Quote, "The as-built location of the deck and block wall do not in any way impact wetland resource areas and represent no additional impact to the FWR buffer zone A compared to the approved locations." Second, from page 5, the project for which approval is sought does not adversely impact the wetland resources and has an insignificant effect within buffer zone A. Third, under current as-built conditions, the site is found to be stable with no erosion or sedimentation concerns throughout the project work zone area. And fourth and last, the wetland resources and buffer zone A are protected the same or better if the as-built conditions are permitted. I would suggest to you that these statements that Raul made in the notice of intent show that there'll be no adverse effect if the as-built is approved. As far as legal reasons go, I'd like to say the following. So what's at issue in this particular case is your buffer zone regulation. And I know the commission is very well familiar with it. It's at 1018 and it requires a 100-foot buffer zone. That 100-foot buffer zone is divided into a zone A and a zone B. The zone A, they always add up to 100, but the zone A varies based upon the resource that is adjacent to it. So for example, when it's salt marsh, the zone A is 100 feet. If it's top of a coastal bank, it's 50 feet. In this case, it's the 75-foot buffer that's at issue. The zone A here is 75 feet. In this particular case, once the fieldstone wall is removed, the zone A will be completely undisturbed and naturally vegetated. In the preamble, which is kind of the statement of reasons for the regulation, there is some language that says when the zone A is fully vegetated, such as it is here, the commission may impose what's called a no structure zone adjacent to the zone A. And the commission has a practice of imposing a 10-foot setback, which is what it did in this first case. But I would suggest to you that that is a custom and a practice. It is not a regulatory requirement. Indeed, if you go look through 1018 through its entirety, there is no performance standard and there is no criteria that says that the no structure zone has to be a certain number of feet, or it has to be a certain number of feet based upon what it's next to. It just says in the preamble, there may be a no structure zone when the zone A is fully vegetated. So in this case, the first permit required it to be 10 feet. As Raul pointed out, it's 5.9. I'm going to just say 6 because it's easier to say. So although the 10 feet was not provided, there still is a no structure zone, and it's 6 feet. So essentially the wall is 4 feet out of place from where it was supposed to be, but there still is a 6-foot separation between the masonry wall and the fully vegetated zone A. I would suggest to you that since there's no specific distance required, the commission can find that a 6-foot no structure zone complies with its requirements, because again, there's no specific requirement. Said another way, there is no regulatory basis to say that 6 feet does not comply and 10 does. And I would suggest to you that if the commission were to require 10 and nothing less, that would be arbitrary. And I would suggest that if the commission does not approve the project as built, it would be arbitrary. I also want to go beyond just a technical argument about what is and what is not in your regulations, but I wanted to look at the reasons why it says for a no structure zone. And again, it's in the preamble. There are no performance standards. But what the preamble says is that the commission is concerned when there's a fully protected zone A that there can be impacts from what's adjacent to that zone A. And it breaks the impacts into two different kinds. The first is potential construction impacts, which the preamble talks about siltation and construction debris being put into zone A. Those are not of concern here because the structure is already there, it's already built. The preamble does also talk about post-construction impacts, and it cites things like increased nutrient loading due to a change in the land use adjacent to the zone A, or unregulated cutting of vegetation or extensions of lawn. And the commission is well familiar with projects. I think the preamble is concerned with someone having lawn, let's say at 76 feet, and over time they might mow a little further, etc. I've also seen, it's not in the preamble, but I've seen the commission address this requirement or this preamble issue many times. And what I've seen the commission talk about is kind of the common sense fact and knowledge that when you have a structure, it requires maintenance. I've seen the commission talk about you might have to reshingle or paint that structure, therefore you might have to put ladders. And so if you had a structure right at 75.5 feet, clearly those maintenance activities would require intrusion into the zone A. But I would suggest to you that under the circumstances, these post-construction related concerns are also not a concern here at this site for the following reasons. One is we have provided a 6-foot no structure zone. This is not a case where there's no structure zone. We're providing 6 feet. The structure that you saw in the photos that Raul put up is an inert masonry wall. It's not going to need any maintenance. It's not going to need stripping and painting or ladders or anything like that. And given the grades that are at issue, if you've been out to the site, the photos didn't quite show this really super clearly, but it drops off quite significantly from where that fieldstone wall is. So once that fieldstone wall is removed and that fill is removed and it's graded and planted, no one's going to go back there because it drops off very, very quickly. So given the site conditions and given the type of structure at issue, an inert masonry wall, the 6 feet that's provided addresses all of the concerns why the commission requires the no structure zone in the first place. So under the circumstances, it's approvable. So in summary, I'd just like to finish by saying, 1, the notice of intent demonstrates compliance with your regulations. 2, the wetland resources in the buffer zone A are protected the same or better if the as-built conditions are approved. 3, The reason why the commission imposes a no structure zone are not a concern here and are adequately addressed by the 6-foot setback. And lastly, as I said, there's no performance standard or regulatory requirement to point to that says that more than 6 feet is required. So I know the commission is probably not happy that this did not get built where it was supposed to be, but I think we've made a compelling case that it can be approved where it is. And I'd like to turn it over to Jeff Nickerson because the commission's decision will have real world impacts. Raul alluded to it, but I would suggest to you this, the evidence, and it's included in my letter. If the wall has to be removed, the entire project has to be redone. The pool is of such a type that removal of the wall will require that it be replaced entirely. And again, there's a person who lives in this house that has to undergo all of this. And with that being said, Mr. Chairman, I am available for questions, but I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Nickerson for a brief statement on behalf of Mrs. Kornberg.
Go ahead, Mr. Nickerson.
Thank you. So commission, staff, thanks for hearing this matter tonight. On behalf of the applicant, Mrs. Kornberg is a longtime resident in our community. She cares deeply about the community, not just by her presence here, but she's very active in a lot of nonprofit causes and cares deeply about the town of Falmouth. As Brian mentioned, if as a result of this hearing or an enforcement action subsequently, the pool would need to be removed, it would be really deleterious to Ms. Kornberg's enjoyment of her property. The accessibility component of the structure is important to her so that she can get outside and enjoy the natural outdoor environment. And without that accessibility component and the associated structure, it will be difficult for her to age in place and really enjoy the house and the outdoor surroundings the way she would like. And so with that, we would hope that the board would consider that and allow the structure to remain as constructed. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. All right. Jen, I'll let you start it off. Or Raul, did you have anything else before I bring it to the staff and commission?
Yeah, so one point that I missed mentioning, we did receive a couple of calls at our office from abutters, and I believe there was some documentation or letters submitted to this application in favor of this application, because also the abutters don't want to go through the trouble of having major reconstruction or major construction again within their neighborhood. Thanks.
Thank you. Jen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Raul, you mentioned mitigation up when you take the second unpermitted wall out, the fieldstone wall and the fill, and you said you were gonna restore or mitigate that area?
So right,
that's within 10 feet of the structure. You can't put plants within 10 feet of the structure or mitigation within 10 feet of the structure.
so in the original application from a few years ago, what was approved was 50 square feet of native plantings as an improvement. So it is not mitigation requirements because the buffer zone A is fully vegetated. So it was required to have an improvement, and 50 square feet was proposed between the limit of work and the retaining wall. What we're doing is that now we're proposing to do 318 feet, 318 square feet that will cover the whole area that's disturbed, kind of east of the masonry wall.
But it's too close.
East of the masonry wall. So you're going to go from the wall
Or
to the zone A buffer and fill it with plants. So you're not going to have any circulation around that house, around
Right.
that pool.
There's already pedestrian circulation through the deck.
But nothing if you have to perform any sort of maintenance on that wall.
Right, and we don't believe we need it.
You believe and don't believe a lot of things. I don't know if we agree with you on that one, Raul. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure I was clear about that. So this area of dark green, you're going to put native plants there.
That's the intent.
And then all the other little areas on the bank, this 900 that you're going to remove the ivy down on the bank. Is that still proposed?
Right, and that already, part of it already took place. Um,
Oh, did it?
some of the mitigation that was found was honeysuckle and porcelain berry. The
Okay.
contractor already removed some of that. Native plantings were already installed. There is
Okay.
still some more English ivy.
I don't think the staff has much to say. The project was not constructed the way that it was presented to the board. That is no fault of this board. The plan was requested to be amended to meet your regulations and conditions. It was, and those conditions weren't followed. The applicants requested from this board an amendment to keep this pool where it is, and this board denied that amendment. It's a difficult situation. It's an unfortunate situation, but none of this is the result of this board's actions at all. I think the board made the right decision when it denied the order, the amended request for an order of conditions. We cannot issue orders of conditions and have them not followed. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Alyssa, did you have anything to add?
Not at this time. Thank you.
All right, I will start with commissioners. Courtney.
This is a very difficult situation. There have been a lot of people involved in this project outside of this commission. And the more mistakes made, I think everybody recognizes that. There is a process. I've been on this commission for 20 some years. And there is a process. The process is if you, as an applicant, want to change the conditions that were issued under a notice of intent, you file an amendment and in advance of the work, and you get approval for the changes that you propose. You don't build pools and retaining walls and stone walls and stuff and then come and ask. That's taking a huge risk. Our job is to uphold the regulations. We issued a valid order of condition on the original notice of intent that specified where the wall and the pool and everything else was supposed to go. No objections were raised by anyone when those orders were conditions were issued. Mr. Wall didn't apply for an amendment, nor did Mr. Nickerson, nor did the homeowner. The homeowner ultimately in this thing, sadly, is the responsible party. And now somebody took it upon themselves to construct the thing without getting permission from this commission. Yeah, we can talk about 10-foot setbacks or 2-foot setbacks and all of that. But what was asked for was a 10-foot setback. And Mr. Wall, you can say what you want about it, and it isn't in our regulations, but it's customary that we require it. You could have challenged that, but you didn't. And we had a contractor who chose to build a wall where it wasn't supposed to be. Did he get a building permit for that? When I look at that site, that wall is over 4 feet high in places, and there's no handrail on that deck. That's a violation of building code. Does that mean there was no permit pulled for that deck? The consequences are huge, and they're going to cost a lot of money. And I feel very badly for the homeowner And I respect the work that you, Mr. Wall, do, and you do too, Jeff. You guys have got a tough nut to crack. But it's not our problem. Our problem is to uphold the orders and conditions. We issued an order, a valid order. You've come to amend this. I can tell you straight up, when it comes time to deliberate, I will not vote to approve it. Thank you.
Thanks, Courtney. Jen, you look like you had something to comment about.
Only that the building permit that the town staff signed off on, myself, the building commissioner, everyone, was the approved plan of reference issued by this board. It was not this plan. And I do not believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff or Brian, that it actually has obtained a building permit for this particular design yet. I don't believe it has. I could be mistaken, but I don't believe it has, given the issues with conservation. So the building permit that was signed by conservation staff, building commissioner, all of that was the approved plan of reference by this board, and not the plan you currently see.
Thank you for that clarification, Jen.
Yep.
Dave.
I'm surprised that the court hasn't mentioned something you always mention, and that's precedent. And if we would approve this, we would be setting a precedent for doing a certain plan, getting it approved, doing it differently, and then backing in and using some of the justification we've heard tonight. That would be a precedent, and we don't do business that way. So it's bad for us from that regard as well. And I am in quite a strong agreement with court. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Jim?
I have no questions. It's a difficult situation, but no further questions on my end.
Ronnie?
I have no questions, sir.
Thank you. Steve?
Does somebody know how this actually happened? How the incorrect construction occurred? Is there an answer?
If I may,
You
Mr.
may,
Chair,
Brian. Yep.
just want to make sure I'm not muted. I'd like to answer Mr. Patton's question in two ways. There clearly was a mistake made here, but I don't think how it happened is relevant. And I would also suggest to you that if this is not resolved through this process, there will probably be lawsuits by everybody that was involved against everybody that was involved. It's that kind of seriousness. So I'd like to kind of stay away from why it happened. I would just suggest to you strongly that a mistake was made.
Hey, Brian.
Okay, fine, but it makes a great deal of difference to me. If it was intentional, I don't want any part of it. If it was unintentional, your efforts you've made to give back, so to speak, have been impressive and worth my consideration. So it is an important factor for me, and I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
I will try to answer that a little bit more than Mr. Patton. I'd like to persuade your vote on this one. I'm concerned about saying too much because statements can be then later used in subsequent litigation. But I think that there were several different iterations of the plan, and the wrong plan was built in the field. I would also suggest to you too, there was talk about the building permit. There were multiple follow-up inspections, the way that it always happens with construction. And my client tells me that the subsequent inspections were all signed off on by the building department. So, you know, the safety requirements, et cetera, were all signed off. It came to our attention later when we went for compliance that the wall is in the wrong place.
Thank you, Brian.
I think so.
Steve, did you follow up real quick?
No, thank you. I was just going to thank you for the explanation.
Okay. Ron?
No, I know it's a very difficult situation here. It'd be easier for all of us to just close our eyes and let it go, but we can't do that. And we have to abide by the regulations. That's our job. And Courtney has said it nice, and Dave Kent has also agreed to with that. And I'm in agreement with those two. Thank you.
All right. I'm sort of in the same boat. Yeah, I understand why you don't want to go for specifics. Almost seems like a pool was built based on some of the explanation about removing hardscape, that the pool will have to be dismantled. I don't know what was built first. If a pool was built and they realized they had to go further out to stabilize it or not. But yeah, those are my thoughts. And just basically, this structure, Jen, to clarify, it was we did not accept the amended order conditions for the structure as is right now.
Correct.
Right. Right. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, may I just, before you close the hearing, could I just say one more thing?
Yes, yeah, 1 second. I'll give you the final word, Brian. Jen or Alyssa, did you have anything to follow up of first? Is there anything in the comments about this issue real quick?
There was someone that had their hand raised. Mr. Wingrove, if you would like to address the board, can you use your raise hands feature again? There is someone, I do believe it is a neighbor. Mr. Chairman, I am going to promote Douglas Wingrove as a panelist so he can address the board.
All right.
Mr. Wingrove, when you please turn your camera on if you have one, and volume so we can hear you, sir.
Hello, can you hear me now?
We can hear you, sir. Do you have a camera?
Yeah, here we go. There we go.
Perfect. Thank you very much, sir.
I just want to say something on behalf of Donna. I don't know how well anybody on the panel knows her. She's a neighbor of ours. She's 84 years old. She's widowed. She is a widow, and she's disabled. She doesn't get out much, and this pool and patio are two of the things that she's able to use, at least in the nicer weather. Any prolonged reconstruction of this is going to deprive her of that, and I honestly don't know how much longer she's going to be living. So I think going through a whole another year or two of reconstructing this structure is really a cruel thing to do to this poor old lady.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is, sir. Okay, and that's the only comment I want to make at this point.
Thank you, sir. All right, Brian, I said I'd give you the last word. Go for it.
Thank you. This will just take 1 minute, Mr. Chairman. So clearly there was a permit for this project, and clearly the permit was deviated from. That's not in dispute. But that's not the standard that the commission needs to apply. The standard is whether or not the regulations were complied with and the performance standards were met. And I've heard words like fault, mistake, etc. I've heard words about precedent, but actually in Courtney's dissertation about this, he said something that actually I agree with. Our job is to uphold the regulations. That means that your job is to determine whether the as-built structure meets the regulations or not. I would ask the commission to put aside all of these feelings that the prior permit wasn't complied with. That's not the standard that you have to apply tonight. And I think if you look at what the regulations say, a very compelling case has been made for approval of this as-built project. I would ask that you approve it.
Thank you. Well, what is your pleasure on the commission? Courtney.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, David, and this is through the chair. I'm sorry, Brian. But we cannot divorce the fact that this order of conditions or this application is similar to the other one, in effect is an attempt to remedy what was previously denied and attempt to remedy a situation, and nothing in this new order has really changed. it's asking us to accept what was done. And what I'm saying is that this is an issue, and I feel very badly for the homeowner. Particularly, I can relate to the issue, being that I'm 85 going on 86. You know, we slow down a little bit. And we want to live out our life and do our things that we want to enjoy the last few years. And I'm sure that the homeowner wanted to enjoy her pool and all of those things. And it's a very, very sad situation. Believe me. I know I sound sort of, I guess the word is heartless by taking the position that I did. But I really feel for the homeowner. I can relate to her age. I can relate to her infirmities. And I hate to see her go through all this. But unfortunately, all of this could have been averted. All of it. Had one thing been done prior to moving that wall 5 feet closer, prior to building that stone wall, fieldstone wall, prior to doing all of the construction related to it, the owner could have done a simple thing, come before the commission and filed for an amendment to move the wall and so forth. That's the fly in the ointment here, because it wasn't done. And now to fix it is going to be expensive. There's no question. And I'm glad I'm not faced with that. But we have to do our job.
Thank you, Courtney.
Thank you, Court.
All
I'd
right.
like to take motion to close the hearing and Patton.
Bird second.
Motion has been raised and second. Any questions? All right.
Yes, I have a question.
Dave?
So if we just close this, do we need to discuss next steps tonight, or what are the next steps? I don't, if we close.
No, Dave, you close the hearing, and next week you vote whether or not to issue an order of conditions.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
You can either issue the order of conditions approving the pool in its place, or issue a denial order of conditions, and we can discuss next steps at that point.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Got a motion and a second. Courtney?
You asked me to vote now?
Yeah.
No, Courtney, I to close the hearing.
I to close the hearing. What is it we need to?
It's already been made and passed to close the hearing, so I'm calling the roll.
Okay, Bird, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dave?
Kenneth, aye.
Jim?
McGrath, aye.
Ronnie?
Moment, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
Ron?
Driscoll, aye.
And Duffy, aye. Motion to close the hearing and take up advisement is passed.
Thank you, everyone, for your time tonight. We really
Thank you,
appreciate
Brian.
it.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank
Good
you,
night,
Brian.
Raul.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Good
you.
night, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Next up, we got Robert and Kara Martin, trustees, 58 Westwood Road, LLC, 58 Westwood Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to conduct invasive species removal, install restoration plantings. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we were waiting on a natural heritage letter. I believe we have received that, so we can close this hearing.
For 58 Westwood?
Oh, I'm sorry. I jumped one over. I'm sorry.
Yep.
58 Westwood. We are continuing to March 4th. We did meet with the applicant. The board had asked the applicant to work with staff. We met with them yesterday after we received a revised plan. We've asked for additional changes. We are conducting a site visit with them as well. And we should be able to hopefully close this on March 4th.
Excellent.
Do we have a motion to continue this hearing till the 4th of March?
Driscoll second.
All right. We got
I guess I have one more question if you don't mind.
yeah, Dave, go.
Jen, can we go out and do a proper site visit with all this snow?
Think you can. The backside of the dune might be hard to see between the dune and the beach. But a lot of the invasives are full grown and a lot of the plantings are full grown, so you'd be able to see it. And the applicant's representative have flagged all of the invasives that you've seen in your submittal. So they did flag quite a few. So it is, I think it would be fairly easy to see.
Okay, thank you.
Not a problem.
All right. So we got a motion to continue to March 4th and 2nd. No more questions. Call the roll. Courtney.
Bird eye.
Dave.
Anti.
Jim.
Breath aye.
Ronnie.
Moment I.
Steve.
Aye.
Ron.
Driscoll aye.
And Duffy, aye. Motion to continue to March 4th is approved. Next, we got William Elizabeth Scannell, 314 Quistit Avenue, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to conduct invasive species manage and install recreational plantings. Now, Jen.
Now we've received natural heritage. Oh, Nick Crawford's here. I think he wants to say something. He's Crawford Land Management. I'm going to promote him up. We did receive Natural Heritage's comments, so we, from a staff level, are prepared for the board to close the hearing, but I think Nick wants to say a few words.
Not
Nick,
if I
am I
didn't have.
promoting Mike Borselli up as well?
I don't. I mean, you can, but I didn't really have much to say. I was just gonna say what you said. We got the letter, and they weren't opposed. I don't have my camera on because I'm hiding from 5 kids in my bedroom. But yeah.
Okay.
If anyone has any other questions from the last time, happy to answer them. Otherwise, that's it.
Okay, great. Thank you, Nick.
Thanks, Nick. Any questions from any members of the board? All
We
right.
need a motion.
We do.
I'll make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Driscoll second.
Got a motion and a second. Questions? Alyssa.
Ronnie, you're not on this quorum.
Ronnie out. All right. Courtney.
Bird eye.
Dave.
Anti.
Jim.
McGrath aye.
Steve.
And aye.
Ron.
Driscoll aye.
And Duffy, aye. Motion passes to close and take it under advisement. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.
All right.
Good night, Nick.
Night.
Next, we have a request to amend an existing order of conditions. Michael N. Smith and Yvonne Yi Chang, 4 Whitmore Avenue, Falmouth, Mass. Request to amend the order of conditions for Mass DEP number 25-5003 to conduct invasive species management, remove and replace several trees, and to plant a row of screening trees. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this applicant's requesting a continuance until March 4th. We do have some questions regarding the invasive species management, and we are setting up a Zoom call or meeting with the contractor involved with that.
At the request of the applicant, I will make a motion to continue this till the 4th of March.
Driscoll second.
Motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing none, call the roll. Courtney.
Bird eye.
Dave.
Anti.
Jim.
McGrath aye.
Ronnie.
Moment I.
Steve.
Aye.
Ron.
Driscoll aye.
And Duffy, aye. Motion to continue to March 4th has been granted. Next, request to extend an existing order of conditions. Sarah Cumagus Young and Leighton Folker Young III, 10 Quahog Pond Lane, Falmouth, Mass. DEP number 25-4607, request for a 1-year extension. Jen?
Yes, the staff recommends a 1-year extension on this, Mr. Chairman.
This, and the reason,
Just continuing to do work out there. Oh,
okay.
there's a Dylan Lance from, I'm assuming Crawford. Hang on.
And I'm here
Crawford.
again. I logged off
Hi,
just
Nick.
like 2 seconds too soon. Yeah, the reason for the extension is basically just to make sure the work is in compliance. I think we ran out of a little bit of time to replace some plantings and things like that. So we just need a little more time.
Okay, I'll make a motion to grant a 1-year extension.
Driscoll second.
Motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the roll. Courtney?
Bird eye.
Dave?
Kent, aye.
Jim?
Breath aye.
Ronnie?
Bowman, aye.
Steve?
Pat and I.
Ron?
Driscoll, aye.
And Duffy, aye. Request for a 1-year extension granted.
Thanks again.
Thanks, Nick. Yes. All right.
Thank you, Nick.
Next, we have continued hearings under an enforcement order. First up, Seashell Lane Community Associates, Inc., 0 Davisville Road, map parcel 40-11-013-000, East Falmouth, Mass., unpermitted clearing, cutting, and construction within the flood zone and with the buffer to a salt marsh. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that has been continued until February 11th. We continued at Seashell Lane?
Yep.
We
Yep.
continued at the beginning of the hearing till February 11th.
Okay. So we just move on.
Yes.
Oh, we've
We
already done
continued
that.
that.
Sorry.
Yeah, you've already done that
It was
one.
very beginning. I thought this was going to be a quicker meeting. Next, we have John G. Butt and Mary Ellen Butt, 41 Mary Emanuel Way, Falmouth, Mass. Unpermitted construction of a deck and fence, removal of trees, and clearing vegetation within conservation jurisdiction. Jen?
Yeah, so we received an email from Mr. Butt at 4:30. I think Fallon had forwarded it to you all.
Yep.
He wasn't going to be able to make it tonight. It says, I am not able to make the meeting tonight. I do not know if any of the commissioners stopped by this week. With all the snow, not sure if you could see anything or walk the grounds. As for preparing a site plan, I don't think it's necessary as I have no plans to put on a deck and I have significant expenses with a personal issue. More than happy to have any of the commissioners stop by. Just let me know when. Thanks again for your patience and understanding. My ask is that I put forward for discussion a review whether to keep the fence where it's installed so not to incur any further expenses. I am not far outside the Zone A, and I hope that when you stop by, you will see that I am outside the 100-foot buffer from the marsh and pond's edge, to paraphrase real quick. The board, we can continue this out again, but this has been out there for quite a while. The original letter was sent in, I want to say 2024. We met with them in April of 25. We didn't hear anything else after we met with the Butts and Tom Bunker that April. We had to send the enforcement letter in August. So we're several months out from that initial enforcement hearing and well over 1.5 years from when this issue was first brought to light. I don't know if the commission wants to continue it to allow Mr. Butt to attend and say. I think his biggest issue is requiring an updated site plan, and I'd like to show the board, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, why that is going to be important.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is share my plan real quick with the board. Oops. So the board sees the plan, correct?
Yep.
Okay. If you follow my cursor right here, this is a Zone A buffer zone right there. Oh, wait, where is it? Right here. Oh, I wish I could draw on it. Probably could. Right there's a zone A buffer. There's your limit of work. Now I'm going to show you an aerial of when the house was being constructed and one from September. So this is a near map photo of April 8th of 2023 when the house was under construction. This is the limit of work that was set up at that time. I'm now going to toggle over, over to September 11th of 2025. And as you can see, I mean, the houses aren't lined up perfectly, they're aerials, but as you can see, where this line was your zone A. So all of this area in your zone A buffer, plus over in here, has been altered. I do think it's important that the board have an updated site plan so that we determine the square footage that was disturbed, what we need to replant, and there were several large trees down by the salt marsh over in this area that were dropped and just left right in the zone A buffer of the salt marsh. We have photos of them. So again, the board can continue it to allow Mr. Butt to attend. We have extended this multiple times. I understand there's some personal things going on in the resident's life. So if the board feels, you want to give them one more chance to attend, that's fine. If not, we can just close this hearing and issue an enforcement order. And if the board wants that updated site plan, we can require that.
As part of the enforcement?
As part of the enforcement order.
I'll make a motion to issue an enforcement order and require an updated site plan with the resources clearly marked on it.
Alyssa, you had something to say. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I just saw Alyssa raise her hand.
Yeah, just to add a clarifying point, I do believe Mr. Butt made his statement in that email. Based on our conversations, I think one of his biggest concerns was obtaining an updated site plan and the services of an engineering surveying group again. It will be necessary for the COC process. We will need a plan at some point. So obtaining it now can at least bring clarity as to how much square footage of the zone A that's required to be vegetated is now unvegetated. So we can require restoration. And we're back to your no structure zone that we just heard at a previous hearing where that fence is located. So having an updated site plan will help us figure out exactly how much that will need to be relocated. So I do think a plan is necessary and will only provide more clarity for your decision making.
Thank you. And by the my count from something that I get is this would be the 8th continuance if we offered another continuance for this. And I understand there's some personal health, and I'd really like to have the applicant say their piece, but in the email, it's very clearly stated of how the applicant feels. So that's my piece. Dave, I see your hand raised.
So we have an existing enforcement order. Court's motion, we're going to ask for a plan. Is that the only, I mean, is that something new in the enforcement order? Is that what previously asked for? What's new about, if we close this under court's motion, what will we have done new? Anything new?
Jen?
Well, you would issue the enforcement order, Dave. You're in an enforcement hearing. You haven't actually issued an enforcement order yet.
Oh,
So
okay. Right.
if you close this hearing, we can draft up an enforcement order for your review. And and then you can vote on it either next week or the week after, and we can add any sort of revisions that the board would like, and then you vote the enforcement order and we'll issue it.
See, I thought there was already an existing.
No.
enforcement.
You're
I
just
see.
in the
Okay,
hearing
thank you.
process still.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks a lot.
There's
Not
an
a
existing
problem.
order of conditions, an existing amended order of conditions. The permits are still valid. So even if, if you wanted your enforcement order to require work, it can be done under the open permit too.
Well, it would need to be required under an amended. So
yeah.
instead of as we have been doing, require them to file a notice of intent, we would require the applicant to file an amended order of conditions for the restoration.
Okay.
Right. Okay, but he's,
Thank you.
okay. So,
We can write it up so it's very clear, Dave, and it'll get step by step, and we can discuss it
It's,
with
it's
you.
just in the agenda under an enforcement order.
Yeah, it's an enforcement hearing.
That misled me. Yes.
so
Yeah.
I think what we're talking about is a technical issue, a procedural issue.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm making a motion to issue an enforcement order, which we haven't done before.
Well, I would, in this case, so the board can read it, if everybody just gives me 1 second, I would just vote to close the hearing, and we will bring you an enforcement order in the next week or two to vote on.
All right, so I'll withdraw my motion.
I'm making a motion to close the hearing. Driscoll.
Moment
Bird
second.
second.
All right, we have an amendment, a motion to close the hearing and a second. Any other questions? Hearing and seeing none. Courtney,
Bird eye.
Jim,
McGrath, aye.
Ronnie,
Moment aye.
Dave,
Can't I?
Steve,
Patton, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
and Duffy. I motion to close the hearing is passed. Now, vote orders of conditions. C.H. Newton Builders, 52 Oyster Shell Lane, East Falmouth, Mass. For permission to enlarge the existing deck and install associated mitigation. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this was to put a deck partially over an existing gravel area. There's mitigation and there's also restoration plantings involved. So we do have a plan from Mike. Alyssa, we didn't need any revised plans from him, did we?
I'm double checking.
Yeah, I don't think we did. I do see there's an area of his restoration plantings that looks like it's in a naturally vegetated area. And he's got restoration plantings and mitigation plantings up along the hedgerow. It would have been pretty straightforward had we not discovered the unpermitted clearing, so they are doing that. What I would suggest is that the unpermitted clearing, we at least get that planted prior to us authorizing approval of a building permit from Concom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So the plantings go in before a permit.
Plantings go in before Concom approves the building permit.
Okay.
Because we do have a sign off. We have to sign off on the building permit, Courtney, and this will
No, I
kind of be a
understand.
check
Yep.
and balance.
I think the only feature that wasn't corrected on the plan that was discussed at the last hearing was my recommendation of some delineating feature of the vegetated buffer from the usable backyard space. I know one was implemented in the past and was unsuccessful.
Oh, yeah, a little split rail or something.
I mean, I'm open to suggestion from, the property owner, something that would last more than what was put out there before. But I think something needs to go out there.
Yep, we can write that in.
All right. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to issue an order of conditions as discussed.
Bird second.
Driscoll.
All right. A
Bird
motion to accept the motions of conditions as discussed has been made and seconded. Any questions? Hearing and seeing none. We'll call the roll. Courtney,
Bird eye.
Jim,
McGrath, aye.
Ronnie,
Moment aye.
Dave,
Count tie.
Steve,
Pat and I.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
and Duffy, aye. Motion to vote and order conditions as discussed is passed. Well, that was fun.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you. I'll miss you guys next week. Steve, good job next week.
So,
Well,
so
I will
and I,
think
good
about
luck.
you.
Good luck, Steve.
Yes. Well, I'm sitting in 88-degree weather, so.
Where you going?
Where were you going?
Curacao.
Ah.
Yeah. So.
Motion
Palm
to
Desert for me.
adjourn.
Palm Desert for me.
Bird, second.
Aye,
Count
aye.
tie.
Motion made.
Driscoll, aye.
McGrath,
Bird, aye.
Duffy,
Pat and
aye.
I.
Enjoy.